This is RHC Reviews.
Welcome to RHC Reviews number 25. As always, I am Revolutionary Cowboy, and I got a new review for you guys. At least a new review in a way. It's probably been a figure that's been reviewed probably many times over the years, but hey, you know, I thought I'd take my crack at reviewing him. So here he is, none other than the ringside exclusive Masked Kane from 2011. So I'm going to get ready to review him pretty soon. And of course, as usual, I have the Q&A and channel shout out. So yeah, let's get ready to do this review. And if you don't like it, you can burn in hell. Well, not really. Hellfire and brimstone, it's Kane. My God! It's gotta be Kane! Hellfire and brimstone! The devil's favorite demon! Thank you, JR, for that little intro. As you can see, this is Kane, or Masked Kane, from circa 2002-2003, back when he wore this mask. This is a Ringside Collectibles exclusive from 2011, of course made by Mattel, and it's in the Elite Collection. And as you can see, as I mentioned, it's the attire he wore during that time. We'll zoom in on it. Take a look at the mask. Black and red with kind of a fire design. He has the long brown hair. He has the black, kind of a see-through tank top with red straps all over it. And then he has the black elbow pads, one black glove, and a black wristband, black tights. With, well, it's all one piece, obviously, the singlet and the tights, but he's got, like, red straps on the side, and then he just has standard black boots with a little bit of red detail and some little bit of silver detail. And then, as you can see, the one special piece that can be removed is his mask. So let's take it off, and there you go. And this is how Kane looked. I mean, minus the black eyeshadow, obviously, because that's what he had to wear to pretend that his face was burned, because, well, by this time we already figured his face was burned when he's already shown half his face. This, for the longest time, from 97 through 2002, we still thought he had a burned face. That also turned out to be a lie, so look at that face. He got a very bitter face, too. But anyways, that's how he looked from 2003 through 2012 before he put the mask back on. The mask that he was wearing again before he became Corporate Kane. Now this attire, you can see he's also got some chains on, which I know there was also another Elite. I don't know what Elite said it was, but it's bald-headed Kane, obviously, with just the tights and minus the black eyeshadow, obviously. And along with that, he also included this, and he has this towel accessory, which was also included with another Elite Series Kane, which also had the chains. So when he wasn't wearing his mask anymore, he could wear that towel on his head. So we'll take the towel off. And of course, if you ever want to, you can put the mask back on in case you'd rather have Masked Kane, because this is the only version we've had with this mask. Even though there was a version that Jax made that the mask wasn't removable, but they did make a removable mask of him in an early version. And plus, we got a recent Elite that just was released through Ringside. Even though it will be in retail sooner or later, probably be like forever before it comes here. That will include a removable mask, and I'll show the figure that I'm referring to later. But anyways, it also comes with the chains that can be removed. They're a little bit difficult, but if you stretch them a little bit, they will come off. Even though I'm afraid of stretching the, plastic too much. It will take a little bit of work to get this off, so if I have to, I'll cut it off and okay, well, not too much. I have taken this off a couple times. Just gotta be careful. You will stress the plastic a little bit trying to take it off. And there you go. Kane is free from his chains, and he's ready to go on a killing spree or something, like he did in See No Evil. Now for his articulation, it's your standard elite style articulation. He's got movement in the head as usual on a ball joint, even though it's kind of hindered by the mask, so you can take it off and he'll move his head pretty well. It's a little stiff. He does move up and down a little bit, and a little bit side to side. Then he's got the ball jointed shoulders. Move like this, you know, up and down, back and forth, in and out. Bicep swivel. A single joint at the elbow, which is hindered a slight bit by the elbow pad, but the elbow pad's pretty flexible, so it's not hindered too much. Movement at the wrist. He's got a hinge joint on the hand, but his gloved hand does not seem to move as well, so I have to be careful with that. As for the other hand, it doesn't have too much of a problem. So maybe, I don't know, it's just a thicker plastic on the glove. He has the ab crunch articulation, which looks the best like this, because obviously when we do like that, it looks a little bit odd. Just a little bit. Movement at the waist. Got ball jointed thighs, so you can do the splits. He has a cut at the thigh. Double joint knees. And then he has the boot swivel, which this one is kind of loose on mine. That's how I got it. I don't know if anyone else has had that problem. This one's a little bit tighter, so I usually have to be careful when I'm taking off his chains. Now as for the ankle, well, there is like no movement really. You can't go up and down with the ankle. But you can do a pivot, but I just won't go up and down because I don't want to risk breaking it, because this is a good figure. I don't want a Kane that's been broken in half. Now it's time to compare Kane with some figures that were, you know, some early releases of Kane back from the Jakks Pacific days. Unfortunately, my Jakks collection is very small. I don't have a whole lot of Kane figures. But here's one of the first ever Kane figures I got in his first form. This is a Signature Series / Slammers Bone Crunching Action Kane from Jakks, and look how big he is. You know, the master, you know, the Ringside Collectibles version versus this one. I mean, damn, he's huge. This one right here is a Titantron Live Kane, which is a little more inaccurate because the red is a little bit too dark. But as you can see how he compares, he's a little bit taller than the Bone Crunching one, but is still short compared to the, you know, Elite Ringside Kane. And that's the only Jakks Kanes I have. I used to have a bald head Kane that was in a 2-pack Undertaker. Unfortunately, I sold it. I do regret it. So I don't have any Ruthless or Deluxe Aggression Kanes. But I'll still bring in something for comparison. So I'll just bring in who I brought in my Andre review, just for a comparison of how this Kane stacks up with, you know, say a modern Jakks figure. So let's bring in the Hulkster. Why not? Red and black and red and yellow. Hulkamania and Kanemania, brother. The Hulkamaniacs and the Kane Knights, or whatever they call it. Look it up on YouTube. Look up Kane, Hulk Hogan, and Rock, and you'll see the intense promo Kane did with... Oh my god, that was too funny. Too funny. So you can see that the Hogan and Kane are about in scale. The Kane should be a little bit taller than the Hogan, since you know how Jakks is with their scaling, but other than that, they're in decent scale. So if you ever want to have your Hogan versus your Kane for any reason, well, you can. At least until the Defiant Moments Hogan comes out next year. Now let's do a comparison with his current form. First, I'm going to apologize that I have a mint on card Kane here, because, well, if you guys know me by now, when I buy most of my mint on card figures, I leave them mint on card unless the package is really damaged. Otherwise, most of my loose figures I acquire just already as is. So obviously, if this figure were mint on card, I would have never took it out of the package. But it was cheap how I got it. But anyways, here it is compared to the current form of, well, the somewhat current. He's back to being corporate Kane again, but in Elite Series 31, they took this concept, the removable mask, and combined it with this concept. So you're going to get the corporate Kane head under the, you know, the current mask that Kane was wearing. And obviously, same attire. They're not going with the tank top attire. That would be similar to this. But that just shows you, kind of in comparison, how the mask Kane of 2003 compares to the mask Kane, you know, in the present. And unfortunately, I don't have Year of the Hardcore Kane or the Elite 12 Kane for comparison. I wish I did, but I know the Hardcore Kane's not too hard to find, so maybe someday I will have both those figures. Now here is Kane, standard in comparison with other standard, elite, and basic WWE Mattel figures. As you can see, his just a little bit smaller, not too small, compared to Andre and Big Show, while he's still about a slight bit taller than his half-brother Undertaker. And of course, towers over John Cena, CM Punk, Jim Ross, and AJ Lee. I sadly wish I had a Hornswoggle loose figure to show you in comparison, but that's just to give you an idea of how tall Kane is, you know, because if this were Jack's figures, obviously everybody would be about the same height, with Big Show and Andre still being pretty large, and then AJ would, you know, obviously not be too big, but would still come pretty close in scale. But, you know, otherwise that's, you know, to show you that it's a good idea of how big this figure stands, and, well, that's why I like this figure. It's awesome. Plus, you know, the real mask is a plus. I mean, that's always pretty cool. Anyways, feel free to give me your thoughts. Let me know what you think about this Masked Kane figure. Do you own it? Do you prefer this one over Elite 31? Do you like the Elite 31 better? Or like both equally? Anyways, that's my review. Now stay tuned for the Q&A segment. Alright, it's time for our Q&A, where you guys have questions and I have answers. Sometimes short, to the point, you know, answers, and other times long ones that make you feel like it's story time for RHC. But yeah, let's get ready to answer some questions. For my first question from James Fleming right here on YouTube, he wants to know, why did you start collecting wrestling figures? And then he goes on to say, I started collecting 15 years ago. Well, he started, not me, but you know, he started 15 years ago, and it's always been fun for me, as he says, and when Mattel took over, it's so much better now. I just started collecting figures. I don't know if you meant to say when, but it says why from what your question said originally, but why I started? Well, just because I was already collecting toys in general, you know. I went from Ninja Turtles to Power Rangers, and from Power Rangers to wrestling, and then, you know, back and forth, and now I collect all three, but, I mean, just collect it because I was already a fan of wrestling 16 years ago, so that's when I started. And yes, I agree with you. Mattel is doing a better job, even though Jakks did a great job at first. I mean, first, yeah, they were crap because they only had to start somewhere, and then, I mean, then obviously with real scan technology, they got better at the face sculpts, you know, the face scans. Scale could have been better, obviously, but, I mean, and sometimes Mattel hits or misses on it. And I've got a little bit of a story a little bit later in one of these next questions about my transition from Jakks to Mattel, so stay tuned for that. And now let's get to the next question. Best CM Punk fan 434 right here on YouTube actually has two questions, and he wants me to show some of the stuff that I answered in the questions. His first one, what is your favorite MOC mock figure? And two, do you have a Goldberg figure? Well, I mentioned this before in the last Q&A that I actually had a couple of favorite figures. One was the Defining Moments Macho Man Randy Savage, the other was the Legends. Even though I do have another figure I might say might be my favorite mock, so I don't know. Well, let me show you one of the figures I mentioned last video. The other one, the Legends Macho Man, unfortunately is up on my wall. I'll try to take a picture or a video of it later because I don't feel like getting it down. But here's the Defining Moments one I mentioned in the last video. I mean, such an awesome figure. I like it. But technically, it's not a mint on card. It's a mint in box. I mean, there's a little bit of a difference. So I guess for a carded figure, I'm going to have to say this might be one of my favorites because it's one of the hardest and most expensive figures to get. I actually got it at FYE back in 07, 08 for 20 bucks. And now this figure, if you try to get on eBay, it is not cheap. It's the Deluxe Aggression 2-pack of Triple H and Shawn Michaels from Jakks Pacific. Their DX tires. Yeah, you're not going to find this figure for any less than 100 bucks unless they're loose. Trust me, go on eBay, if you find it on Amazon. I looked it up myself. This is a pretty rare figure, and I like it. You know, it's one of the few Jakks 2-packs I like, or Jakks figures in general. And I mentioned before in the question that James Fleming had asked and talked about how Jakks did a pretty good job with the head scans. I mean, those scans are pretty nice. I mean, Mattel's done some good ones, but these are pretty good for, you know, what Jakks did at the time. Now, for the second question, he asked, do I have any Goldbergs? Well, I have one. It's an old Toy Biz grip and flip Goldberg, and well, he's not in the best condition. He's pretty loose. He's missing his magnets. because unfortunately they came out too easily. I don't know if that's a problem for a lot of people who had Goldberg figures from the Grip and Flip line, or Grip and Flip figures in general, where it be Hogan, who I also have. Hogan's back in my toy box somewhere, or Chris Jericho, Dean Malenko, DDP, and Raven, and there's a few other Grip and Flip figures. So this is one of the only Goldberg figures I have. I don't have any Jakks Goldbergs, and I used to have a original San Francisco Toy Makers Goldberg. I had one that was out of the package. That was like years and years ago. Gave it away. Yeah, I wish I would have kept it. And then I used to have a mint on card original San Francisco Toy Makers Goldberg, but then I just didn't have space for it, along with a DDP in my collection, because I just was mostly trying to focus on the figures I was collecting heavily mint on card. So yeah, I sold it at the flea market. I regret it, but at the same time, those figures aren't too hard to find on eBay. So when I do have the place to, collect more than just what I'm collecting now, obviously I'll get that figure again, along with any other figures that I used to have or I don't have, just, because I always want to add more figures to my collection and make my collection bigger. Hashtag DZ Takeover, who goes by @XRRR_Hulk_X, or X_RRR_Hulk_X on Twitter. He wants to know, what is your favorite type of music? Metal. Always been a big metalhead, at least since late middle school, early high school. I also like some rock, but not as much anymore. And then I liked rap for a brief time, but yeah, I don't like rap anymore. But I love metal, love so many metal bands, black metal, death, thrash. You can see I'm wearing my Motorhead shirt. One of my favorite bands, even though it's not my most favorite. Obviously, if you know me real well, you should know who my favorite band is, or by telling by my username. But if you don't know who my favorite band is, then hey, feel free to ask me, and I'll tell you. Yeah, metal. Lee Fyfe @Lee514 on Twitter has a couple questions for me. His first one: what is your first WWE Mattel figure? And second, have you ever been interested in Pokemon? Alright, so for the first Mattel figure, I brought it out with me, and I'll give you a little story after I pull it up, because you're going to see that, yeah, I got it towards the end of the first year of the Mattel line. This is a Best of 2010, Evan Bourne. So that tells you I got into the Mattel collecting pretty late. Just a short story. When Mattel first started with the license, I was still a hardcore Jakks guy, even though I didn't have a lot of Jakks figures to begin with, and I mostly just collected wrestlers I wanted every now and then. And I still like Jakks better, because Mattel didn't impress me at first, but eventually they started to, and plus I needed that Evan Bourne, because I had missed out on the Jakks versions, like the ECW Evan Bourne, and any other Ruthless Aggression figures that might have been made of him. So I needed it for my collection, and then after that, yeah, I just went from there, and I started collecting more. So hey, I'm happy, because I have like a giant Mattel collection. I have like over 200 figures, or at least close. I don't know, I haven't counted. I'll have to count one of these days. Now for his second question, have I been to Pokemon? Yes. I was a big Pokemon fan back in middle school, and on through high school, and even in my adult years. I've only kind of slowed down on Pokemon a little bit, but I'm kind of getting back into collecting some stuff that I used to be into. I used to play the games a little bit, mostly played Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, Crystal, played Pokemon Stadium. Didn't play the later games, not that I didn't like them, I just wasn't into them anymore. I used to watch anime, even though I kind of stopped watching, but only now got back into watching it with the Pokemon X and Y series. I used to collect the figures. I don't have much of them anymore, but I've started collecting those again, mostly the trainers like Serena, Ash, Misty. I still like some Pokemon figures, don't get me wrong. I used to love the Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard 3-pack, which I still had it. And then Pokemon cards, I used to love collecting those. I have like 3 binders full. I never really played the card game except for a few times, but I was more into collecting them, especially the, oh my god, base set Charizard. That was like the best card, and I'm glad I finally have it. And I have so many more awesome cards. So one day I'll have to show you guys my Pokemon card binders. And I know people want to see my wrestling card binders. I know, I'll get around to it. Just trying to film those, the best way I can, So stay tuned. Savvy as Joshua right here on YouTube wants to know, despite collecting Hot Wheels, TMNT, WWE, etc., what other figure collecting have you got or planning to collect that we haven't seen from you? Well, Josh, and by the way, Savvy as Joshua is my best friend, one of my best friends here on the internet, so that's why I'm calling him by his name, But anyways, so besides the main 3 or 4 lines I collect, Ninja Turtles, WWE, Hot Wheels, Power Rangers, which you know forgot to mention, which is alright. There are other lines I want to collect, and God, it's going to be a really long video for me to name every line. I'll give you guys a few. Like, I want to collect more Transformers and Beast Wars, especially Beast Wars. I love Beast Wars. I want to collect some other lines that kind of relate to Power Rangers, like, you know, Big Bad Beetleborgs, Masked Rider, VR Troopers. More anime and comic lines, like if it comes to anime, I've already mentioned Pokemon before, Dragon Ball Z, Digimon. When it comes to comics, you know, Marvel Universe, anything DC related. And then there is a crap load of toy lines from the 90s I want to review. Like, oh god, like I said, there's some I'll have to talk about later. I mean, a lot of these lines I've already have collected in the past, and I used to have. Like, ones I've collected before were like, Mighty Ducks, the cartoon that was on Saturday mornings. Space Jam, I still have a few of those toys. I used to have this one toy line called Snailians, which was pretty cool. And there's many more that I never had a chance to collect that I'll mention in a later video. So stay tuned, and these are figures that hopefully that will get reviewed right here on RHC Reviews in the months and years to come. John Patel at John Patel 4 on Twitter. He used to be Indian Destroyer. I guess he had to change his name. But anyways, he has 3 questions for me. So I'm going to probably go slow on these. His first one: do you think Chris Benoit will be in WWE 2K15 since they're having the Triple H versus Shawn Michaels feud in the game? Honestly, I don't. I mean, let's be honest. Yeah, Chris Benoit, he was a great wrestler, and because of all the shots he took to the head, it messed him up and gave him the mindset of an 80-year-old man with Alzheimer's. But despite all that, WWE and 2K are not going to put him in the game. I mean, special fact that he killed his wife and child, and the fact to kill a child, you know, WWE's PG right now, and the game is T for teen, but I'm sure a lot of kids will play the game, and obviously they don't want parents seeing that a murderer is in the game. Yeah, I'm sorry to say that. I mean, I'm not a Benoit hater, but I've never been a big Benoit fan, so I just think it'll be a long time before we see anything of Benoit in it, whether it be video games or toys. So I mean, at least as long as Vince, Triple H, and Stephanie will run the company. So just don't get your hopes up that Benoit even gets mentioned in the game. And if he does, it's probably just a short little video that shows Benoit briefly, but I don't see him being in the game anytime soon. For his second question, he wants to know, what is your favorite WWE match? There's a lot of good ones. I'm going to say, it's hard to say what my favorite one is. I'm probably going to say I like Sting versus Macho Man at Spring Stampede, 1998. That's a good one. Hogan versus Goldberg on Nitro back in June or July of 1998. Sting versus Hogan at Starrcade 97. I mean, there's a lot of good ones. It's really hard to say what my favorite one is, so I guess just make a top 3. I guess I put those 3 in there. And his final one's another question relating to WWE 2K15. What are your thoughts on CM Punk suing WWE over him on WWE 2K15 and not getting paid for it? I'm in the middle of this question. I used to be a big CM Punk fan, but since his walkout and all the stuff he's been saying and doing recently, I've been losing a lot of respect for Punk. Yes, on one side, I can see his gripe about not getting paid, about having his image used on the game. But at the same time, it's like, you walked out on your fans, and we've been wanting you to come back, and you're doing all this stuff, blogging people on Twitter for showing your wedding photo, and I don't know, it's just hard to say. I think if CM Punk wants money, he needs to come back to WWE, but he should have never walked out and had a breach of his contract, so all I'd say is, Punk, good luck. You're going to be fighting a big corporate giant, and you may win, and you most likely might lose, so we'll have to see what happens with that. Alright, for these last set of questions from Joseph Hatcher, to end the Q&A, he has 3 for me. He had 4 for me last time because he thought I deleted one of his questions. I'm going to say it right now. Unless your question violates the rules of my Q&A, I'm not going to delete your guys' questions for any reason. Just make sure you only ask 3. If you ask more, I'll put your questions on the next Q&A instead of just answering 4. But anyways, for his first one, he wants to know, what Mattel or Jakks figure do you wish you had? Oh my god, dude, I'd have to make a separate video to tell you every figure I wish I had for Mattel and Jakks. Mostly for Mattel, because there's so many Mattel figures I want. I can give you like maybe a few I want to get. Elite Series 12 Kane. You know, I'm obviously just reviewed the Masked, Elite Kane in this video. But Elite Series 12 Kane, that is a hard figure. I never even saw it in retail. Because I've seen everybody in Elite 12 but him and Papa Shango, and Papa Shango seems to be easier to find, but Kane, oh my god, it's so expensive. Especially if you find the voice box, or to get it mint on card. Elite 13 Edge, that's another hard one to get. It reeks of awesomeness. And especially to find it complete with both the trench coat and the sunglasses, yeah, you're going to pay a lot. The ringside exclusive CM Punk with the mask and the bald head, that's another hard one. I wish I would have bought it. I wish I would have bought figures online back when it came out, so I regret that I didn't get it. And the All-Stars Punk was a pretty cool one. Yeah, like I mentioned, I'm not too happy with Punk, but I'll still collect his figures because he still has some cool ones. And also, Elite 9 Luke Gallows is another cool one. As for Jax, there's probably a lot of classic Superstars figures I want, but I don't know. I'd probably like to get more of the old bone crunching figures and maybe a few Rufus and Deluxe. It's hard to really say which ones I want more in general, but it's more of Mattel that I'm kind of trying to get, you know, more of than Jax. So yeah, hopefully I'll get those figures soon, and hey, if I get them loose, I'll review them. For a second question, I technically answered this in my last Q&A when somebody asked it. He wants to know, have you met any wrestlers? I guess it doesn't have to be just WWE. It could be anyone, I guess, you know, past or present. And once again, I'm sorry. I unfortunately have not. I wish I had. Hopefully someday, and I mentioned in my last Q&A that I came close, but I am jealous of my roommate. He met Hulk Hogan. Hogan wasn't even doing like a wrestling event. It was like a seminar for some weight loss product or something. Something I need. And he actually got a picture of Hogan, so lucky man. I wish I could meet Hogan. And for the final question, Joseph wants to know, what dead wrestler do you miss the most? Obviously Macho Man. I mean, not that I really expect Macho Man to wrestle anymore. He was close to 60 before he died. I just want to see Macho Man back in WWE, you know, come out one more time and address the audience. Ooh yeah, Macho Man on Monday Night Raw! For the WWE Universe, yeah! Macho Madness, dig it! I would have loved that. I would have marked out so much. That would have been awesome. I also miss Eddie. I mean, Eddie Guerrero could have given us another good run or two with the WWE title or with the World Heavyweight title. I mean, and there's many more I miss. And to a lesser extent, I do sort of miss Benoit. I mean, in a way, I mean, sucks what happened, you know, that he had so many headshots and all, and he had to go out and do what he did, but I'm not going to deny that Benoit wasn't a great wrestler, and I would like to see him with the ECW title. That would have been good, but whatever. Things happen for a reason, I guess. And Owen Hart. I think we all miss Owen Hart. Plus, we'd like to see a figure from him sooner or later, since he hasn't had one since 1999, back from the old Jack's Bone Crunching days. So, I mean, but mostly Macho Man, because he was my favorite all time alongside Sting. So, he's definitely one I will miss, and I will continue to miss to this day. Thank you guys for all your questions. As always, if you want to ask me a question to be put on my next Q&A, you can leave them right here in the comments section of this video. Just make sure to put RHC Q&A before you ask your questions. I prefer you guys get 1 to 3 at max, but depending on how many questions I get for each video will probably mean how many I will do. So if you do ask 3 questions, it'll depend on whether or not they'll make it to this video or not. And also, you know, Facebook and Twitter, my Facebook group, RHC Reviews on YouTube. Feel free to join if you haven't, or Facebook page, facebook.com/RevAlCowboy. And of course, you can tweet them to me on Twitter at RevAlCowboy. Now it's time for another channel shout out. This goes to Fyfe, aka cmpunklf. He's another cool WWE fan who also collects figures and trading cards. Go check his channel out. You can click the link in the description or click on the annotation as soon as it pops up. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the review today. And thank you to everybody for the questions for this edition's Q&A. And hope you liked the channel shout out. And as always, I'll have another review up next Thursday. And of course, you know, hey, I'll take suggestions on who I should review next, whether it be WWE, TMNT, Power Rangers, or anything I mentioned earlier in the Q&A. So, hope you guys stay tuned for more reviews I have. And hey, depending on how well these go, I might try to put up 2 a week after this. But for now, just expect 1 review every week. So, just stay tuned. As always, you know the drill. You know, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram even. And of course, if you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button. And stay tuned for more reviews coming soon. So, once again, thanks for watching. Rock on. And keep collecting. Thanks for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this review. I will try to put up as many reviews as I can. And you want to see my previous review? Click on the video that's playing right now. And make sure to subscribe for more videos coming soon. And also like my page on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. As always, rock on and keep collecting.